A little Thanksgiving humor, because God knows we need to laugh. A turkey goes up to a chicken and says, "You know what? Thanksgiving is just the worst. Sometimes I wish I was born a chicken." And the chicken looks back at the turkey with disgust and says, "Are you joking? Please. Have you ever heard of Shabbat dinner?" Which is a reminder that in a way, while I do believe Thanksgiving is certainly special, Jews celebrate Thanksgiving every single week. In fact, we celebrate Thanksgiving every single day. Because we wake up each morning and upon our lips should be the words, Modeh ani lefanecha, dear God, thank you for giving me the ability to open my eyes and take a deep breath this morning, granting my soul anew. In the daily and Shabbat Amidah, we bow for the Moedim prayer and we thank God, says the prayer, for the wonders and the gifts we are given every morning, afternoon, and evening. Gratitude is embedded in our brachot and our blessings, where we recognize our Creator before we eat, before we drink, and as you saw in celebrating Nadav, thanking God for the ability to have life and to see a holy occasion in its moment when we had the chance to bless you with Shehechianu, thanking God for this holy day. But I don't think I've experienced gratitude, real gratitude, until, like all of you, I heard earlier this week that a hostage deal was imminent between Israel and Hamas. And I know this morning our emotions are all over the place as we still await for the second release of this next group of hostages. But truly, we won't fully exhale our breath that has been caught in our throats since October 7th until every single hostage is at home, safe and well with their families. But to see on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, as I was glued to the news, as I'm sure you all were as well, that children, that women, mothers, and grandmothers have returned to Israel, that Thai and Filipino workers have been released, I'm beyond grateful. Because can you imagine their lives ahead? Psychologists have explained that a child's most formative years in life are 0 to 3. That so much of who we are is shaped by both loving and traumatic influences during that exact time. And so we know that the road to physical and mental recovery will be long, will be excruciating, but the alternative to not have them back, well, that's unimaginable. And so yes, even right now, while immersed in a deep, dark pain, longing for all of the hostages that still remain in Gaza, and yes, even while faced with the unknown nightmares these children and adults will experience for years to come, I'm grateful. Because some of them are home. And exhibiting thanks and recognizing God's goodness within our anger, within our turmoil, within our strife, that's who we are as a Jewish people. After all, there's a reason why we are called Yehudim. Yehudim, we come from the tribe of Yehuda. For Leah, our matriarch, she gave birth, and she said, "This time I give thanks." And the Sfat Emet explains the idea of gratitude, that's a trait found in every single Jew. He says, my grandfather explained that we are called Yehudim because we are grateful to God's involvement and kindness in every aspect of our lives. And it's through this kind of acknowledgement that we are meant to approach every challenge in our lives. In other words, even through the most trying of moments, through our tears and through our angst, gratitude is perhaps the exercise that defines our resiliency. Rabbi Wolpe once said from this bima, all gratitude is not an emotion, not an attitude, but an action. To be grateful is to act with gratitude, which is to share the blessings that you have been given. Let me give you an example from Israel. Israel Defense Forces soldier Yehonatan Yitzchak Semo, he was killed in battle just days ago. And he made the truly generous and selfless decision to be an organ donor. Now, his mother had the chance to meet her son's organ donation recipient. And this recipient received Yehonatan's heart. Now, there's a picture online of Yehonatan's mother holding a stethoscope to her ear, for she had the chance to hear her son's beating heart in the chest of another person. And her response in listening to the beats of her son's heart was the following: there's a lot of comfort in seeing life after death. Perhaps real gratitude is understanding how to see life, how to choose life, and still be a blessing in a world where life often feels so very dark. Another lesson of gratitude from another IDF soldier. Before entering Gaza, Staff Sergeant Shachar Friedman, he was age 21, he wrote an ethical will. Now, many of us know that a will divides up our material possessions, but an ethical will you can write at any point in your lifetime, and that's where we offer blessings and advice and guidance to the living. And on this Thanksgiving Shabbat, this is what a 21-year-old soldier had to say about life. He wrote, "Be good people. Smile. Strive to make every person you meet smile too. Be open to criticism and always try to improve yourself. And know that the greatest quality a person can have is the ability to make another person happy. Open your ears to the needs of others and open your eyes to their pain. Try to smile as much as possible, even when it's hard. Pay attention to the small people who are usually in the corners of the eye. Appreciate the little things the world has to offer, especially nature and music. And most importantly, be good people in your own way. Don't let society dictate what makes you good people. Just try as hard as you can, and even when you fall, know that that's the road to success. Love yourself and the world." He concludes, "When you radiate happiness, a circle of joy will form that will create a better world." Staff Sergeant Friedman's funeral was on November 19th, just a few days ago. But he leaves his message to each one of us, and I think his message is clear. Even when we keep stumbling, even when we fall or feel as if we are hitting a wall, even when it feels as if the world is crumbling all around us, he tells us from the world beyond to choose life, to live life, and be the blessing that this world desperately needs. One might ask the question, why did the biblical Jacob dream of a ladder? What was so significant about a ladder? The Kutzker Rebbe explains that the heavens are the heavens of God, and the earth is given to human beings, that is to make the earth a heaven. Which means the reason why we have a ladder in Jacob's dream is to remind Jacob of this task, to look at the world around him, to look at the world around us, and ask, how can I bring God's holiness? How can I bring God's heavens into our everyday lives? In other words, how do I make this world just a little bit better, just a little bit brighter? As Jews, we have learned to live life, one in which we choose to be God's light, to be God's hands, to be God's blessing. And I want to share something quite remarkable with all of you. We announced it yesterday, but for those that didn't have a chance to hear it, it certainly deserves a second mentioning. On Friday morning or so, both Anna Tenenblatt, our Sinai Temple president, and I received a once-in-a-lifetime phone call, if you will. She heard from Rabbi Stephen Weil, CEO of Friends of Israel Defense Forces, And I heard from Jenna Griffin, SAA alum and executive director of the Los Angeles branch of the FIDF. Now, you may know that Sinai Temple and Mount Sinai Memorial Parks and Sinai Akiba Academy, we raised enough funds for 2 fully armored ambulances that would be able to travel from Israel to Gaza. And what we found out is that one of our ambulances was one of the ones that brought our hostages to safety. And so what does it mean to live with gratitude? What does it mean for each of you to live with gratitude? Because in choosing to take our time and our resources to fund those ambulances, you chose to be God's hands. You chose to be God's blessing. And with your help, you brought to safety 13 Israeli hostages that until recently were thrust into the deepest, darkest pits of hell. And so this morning we continue to pray and demand for the release of all the hostages that were brutally kidnapped and taken on October 7th. And today we give thanks. We give gratitude to God for the lives returned. On this Thanksgiving Shabbat, may we remember to live out our divine purpose, to show gratitude by acting with gratitude, to see blessing, but more importantly, to be a blessing. Shabbat Shalom.